The wind roared across the arid Texas plains, pulling at the brim of Caleb Ward's worn hat. He didn't mind. He welcomed it. The wind was raw, untamed, and carried a hint of grief much like himself. Caleb, 51, broad-shouldered and reserved, was a cowboy to his core, shaped by years on cattle trails and the weight of too many graves. His wife, Clara, had died 2 winters back, taken slowly by consumption, leaving a void in Caleb that he hadn't yet learned to mend. Their son, Jacob, had been lost even younger, thrown from a startled horse. Sometimes, Caleb felt their absence linger in the empty ranch house like ash after a blaze. He rode into town only when he had tow supplies, tools, or whiskey when the quiet grew too heavy. That spring morning, he came for lumber. A storm had shattered the barn door, and he wasn't about to let rain spoil the feed. That's when he saw her. She was no older than 15, barefoot outside the general store, clutching a broom too big for her slight frame. Her dress hung loose, like rags on a scarecrow, and her face bruised, cut, smeared with dirt bore the look of someone who'd forgotten what kindness felt like. Caleb might have kept walking. Everyone in town had their secrets, and he respected that. But when the girl dropped the broom and flinched at a shout from inside, when she moved like someone beaten so often they'd forgotten how to stand straight, he stopped dead. "You deaf, girl," a harsh voice bellowed from the store. "I said clean the porch, not stand there gawking like a cow at a gate." The man who stepped out was wiry, mean-eyed, and drunk before noon. Gideon Voss. Caleb knew him, worked the back of the store, married a widow last year who had a daughter from her first husband. The widow died soon after, pneumonia, they said, though whispers pointed to neglect. The girl bent for the broom, hands trembling. "Hey," Caleb said, voice low but steady. "That your daughter?" Gideon turned, squinting. "What's it to you, Ward?" Caleb didn't flinch. "You raise a girl, you don't beat her. That's what it is to me." Gideon sneered. "Ain't your business, cowboy." Caleb stepped off the porch, boots creaking on the wood. The town fell silent, the kind of hush that settles when something big is brewing. "You lay another hand on her, I'll break both of yours." Simple as that. Gideon opened his mouth, but something in Caleb's eyes made him reconsider. He spat, muttered, and stormed back inside, slamming the door. The girl stood frozen, broom gripped like a weapon she didn't know how to wield. Her lip was split, an old welt marked her arm. Caleb sighed. He hadn't asked for this, wasn't looking to play hero, but he couldn't ride off now. "What's your name?" he asked. She hesitated. "Lila." "You got anyone else, Lila?" She shook her head. "You ever ride a horse?" A slight nod. He tipped his hat. "You're coming with me." She blinked, like she'd misheard. "What?" "I said, you're coming with me. You don't belong here. I got room at my ranch. Ain't much, but it's clean. You can eat, rest, work a little, learn to shoot. Won't be easy, but no one'll lay a hand on you again. That's a promise." She glanced at the store door, fear flickering. "He won't let me go." "He tries. I'll bury him," Caleb said plainly. Lila didn't smile, but something in her eyes shifted hope, maybe, or disbelief. He bought her boots and a hat on the spot. The storekeeper kept quiet. Nobody crossed Caleb Ward when his jaw set like that. They rode out before noon, Lila silent behind him on his old sorrel mare, gripping the saddle horn, stiff and wary, like a wild thing not yet ready to trust. The ranch lay an hour west, where the land rolled in sun-scorched hills and fences stretched long through the dust. It wasn't much, but it was home, built with sweat and calloused hands. Caleb showed her the water pump, the outhouse, the barn. He gave her the spare room. The bed creaked, but the sheets were clean. That night, she barely touched the stew he made, sitting silent at the kitchen table. Caleb didn't push. He let the quiet settle. Come morning, Lila was outside at dawn, mimicking his roping on a dummy post. "Loosen your wrist," he called from the porch. "You ain't choking a snake." She missed, tried again, hit it better. Every day after, she worked, fed horses, swept the barn, learned to hammer. Caleb didn't coddle her. He didn't know how. But he treated her like she mattered. Some days, she barely spoke. Others, she asked about cattle, rifles, or why thunder rolled. Her voice grew steadier, stronger. One evening, as the sunset spilled gold across the plains, she asked, "Why'd you take me in?" Caleb chewed a toothpick. Didn't seem right leaving you there. That voter all. I lost my boy long ago. Still hurts. Maybe I saw him in you. Or maybe I just saw someone who needed help, and I could give it. She nodded, silent. You can stay as long as you want, he added. Ain't got a daughter, but I'd be proud to call you one. Her eyes glistened, but she turned away. Weeks passed. Lila's bruises faded. Her laugh, rare but real, surfaced. Caleb taught her to ride solo, shoot straight, track game. She was quick, sharp, fierce when fear didn't hold her back. But not everyone approved. Gideon Voss hadn't forgotten, nor had his brother, Sheriff Amos Voss, a man with a badge and a grudge. One afternoon, they rode up uninvited. She's mine, Gideon growled. You kidnapped her. She ain't livestock, Caleb shot back. She chose to stay. You mistreated hurt hat's the truth. Amos crossed his arms. Law says a miner's with her guardian. She ain't safe with him. That ain't your call, Amos said. Caleb stepped off the porch, deliberate. Then ask her. Right now. Lila stepped out, rifle slung over her shoulder, dust on her boots, sun in her eyes. You want to go with them, Lila? Caleb asked. No, she said, unflinching. Gideon's face reddened. You little. Caleb's revolver was out before anyone blinked, not raised, but ready. Amos spat. This ain't over, Ward. Caleb didn't reply, just watched them ride off. That night, by the fire, Lila whittled a wooden horse. You scared? She asked. Always, Caleb said. But I ain't letting fear run this ranch or take you away. She smiled, a real one, and for the first time in years, Caleb felt the hole in his heart might heal not with noise, but with purpose, with a girl who wouldn't break and a man with someone to protect. 3 nights later, the storm broke not weather, though dark clouds loomed low. This storm wore boots and badges, carrying papers stamped with the governor's seal, twisted to serve small men. Caleb was in the barn, oiling hinges, when he heard horses riding hard. He stepped out, wiping his hands, as Sheriff Amos led a group, joined by a clean-shaven man in a sharp suit. State Agent Marcus Holt, eyes cold, rules over people. Caleb Ward, Holt said, unfolding a document. I'm here on the governor's orders to investigate unlawful guardianship, child endangerment, and obstruction of law. She's safe here, Caleb said. She chose to stay. She's a minor. She has no authority. You're not her kin or guardian. Legally, she's remanded to state care. She ain't cattle to be herded, Caleb replied. Holt's voice stayed calm, rehearsed. She's a ward of the state until resolved. Lila stepped onto the porch, shoulders squared, pine and sweat on her hands, steel in her eyes. I'm not going anywhere. Not with him, not with you. Young lady, the law, Holt began. I don't care about your law, Lila cut in. He beat me. Nobody helped, not you, not the sheriff. Caleb did. That's what matters. Amos shifted, jaw tight. You're confused, girl. Manipulated. No, sheriff, she said. I'm paying attention. Holt signaled the deputy to step forward. Let's not make this ugly, Ward. Caleb stepped down, slow, like a duelist. Turn around. She's staying. Take her, Holt ordered. The deputy, young and cocky, moved toward Lila. She stepped back, behind Caleb. Touch her, Caleb said, voice slicing the wind, and I'll drop you. The deputy froze. Holt frowned. You'd threaten an officer? I protect my family. That's what I do. The standoff stretched, wind stirring dust. Amos spoke low. Don't push him. Man's got nothing to lose. Holt glared. You advising retreat? I'm saying you won't win clean, Amos replied. Holt gritted his teeth. This isn't finished. No, Caleb said. It's just beginning. They rode off, trailing dust and threats. That night, Caleb watched the stars through veiled clouds. Lila cleaned her rifle by the fire. They're coming back, aren't they? She asked. Yes, Caleb said. We prepare. We don't give them what they want. Days blurred into fortifying fences, sorting ammunition. Caleb knew he couldn't fight the state forever, but he'd make it costly. Townsfolk with grudges against the Voss brothers began to help. Blacksmiths brought nails and tools. An old tracker, Silas, left meat and a rifle. Most stayed clear, but enough didn't. One rider, Nate Carver, a wiry ex-cattleman, joined them. Don't like bullies, he said. By week's end, 5 men stood with them, Not soldiers, but capable, teaching Lila rifle tricks, laying plans. Lila changed. She smiled, asked about the ranch's past, but carried a deeper resolve, her rifle always close. One night, past midnight, Caleb woke to silence too quiet. Shotgun in hand, he scanned the dark. A spark flared, then the barn exploded, flames lighting the sky. Horses screamed. Lila ran from the bunkhouse, coughing, with Carver and others, weapons drawn. Caleb staggered up, dazed but unhurt. They're here. A second blast hit the north fence. Gunfire cracked. They're not arresting, Carver growled. They're burning us out. Lila fired, precise, a scream following. We fight, she said, eyes fierce in the firelight. She wasn't the girl from the porch anymore. She was fighting back. They moved fast, fanning out, firing in bursts. The attackers hadn't expected resistance this fierce. Silhouettes fell or fled. The barn burned to embers, but the house stood. At dawn, the attackers were gone for dead, the rest scattered, leaving ashes and failure. Caleb stood in the yard, hands sooty, eyes on the horizon. They'll regroup, Carver said. Let them, Caleb replied. Lila stepped beside him. I'm not running. Ever. He looked at her. Neither am I.